And it is 12:30. Welcome to Ally and Canvas, presented by the Office for Academic Innovation. Today, we're going to basically do a quick overview of Ally and Canvas, how to use it, best utilize it, what it does for you. So during this session, if you have any questions, please send them via chat. This is located in the Zoom meeting control panel. We also ask that you keep yourself muted throughout the session. Oops. If we are not able to answer your question during our training, please attend our virtual office hours. Oops. First thing I want to do is log in to your Canvas account, LMS.TAMU.EDU. You can go to that by going into our LMS.TAMU.EDU, make the move to Canvas site. And you can log in using your TAMU.ID and password, net ID and password. Got a little background. The LMS.TAMU.EDU site is to help you prepare for the move to Canvas. Basically talks about making the move in Canvas in general using Zoom, and then training. As if you made it to this session, you're probably aware about, there's a session on training where we also talk about our virtual office hours and how you can access those. So by the end of this session, participants will be able to interpret an Ally accessibility report in a Canvas course and identify and apply solutions for resolving content using the Ally tool in Canvas. And when we say resolving content, that's going to be talking about making the content accessible. Sometimes you'll hear me use remediate, which is what I used a lot in other jobs, but remediating the content in this context is to make it accessible. So just if you hear those words. So this training session covers how to use and interpret the Ally tool in Canvas. We recommend that you watch our on-demand training and participate in our self-paced training prior to attending this session to familiarize yourself with Canvas. And I will say this will talk more about basically how to use the tool, how to use the report, and what those reports mean. This does not necessarily, we're not getting into details about how to make a Word document accessible, how to make a PDF accessible, that sort of thing. Those can each be their own in-depth trainings. What we're trying to get you here is to use Ally to identify issues and be able to move on those issues. So Ally is a tool that integrates into Canvas that improves the accessibility of all course documents and images. Basically, it evaluates. It looks at what's in there, the files, and can kind of tell you what's wrong with it, what the issue is. Is it a alt tag, alt text? Is it headings? Some of the more common things that we see when it comes to accessibility issues. And it can also provide students with multiple formats, which is a really nice feature. We're going to talk a little bit about that in the end. That does not mean that it makes that stuff accessible. And that's the key as we get through this. You are going to have to take this step. It'll give you a lot of guidance. It'll give you a lot of tips, but it will not do it for you. So you still are going to need to make accessible content a part of your course design. What this does is help you refine it and identify areas which you may have missed. Or like I say, a lot of people have probably put up stuff not realizing it's not accessible. And Ally will help you kind of make that judgment of what is accessible and how to fix it. Some best practices, the enable the accessibility report. Be prepared to remediate publisher documents. That's one thing, is a lot of times you pick something to the publisher, do not assume it's accessible. They do sometimes try it, but that's not always the case, particularly with PDFs if we're linking journal articles. I cannot recommend that you go over all publisher documents, even if they look like they ought to be accessible, checking them yourself. Evaluate class documents for accessibility as your own, and then create accessible documents from the beginning to improve those documents. So let's talk about file types. Ally is going to review PDF files, Microsoft Word files, PowerPoint, OpenOffice Libre, HTML, upload HTML. And that's one key, is like it does not check websites that you link to. You can use a link checker tool within Canvas to check that. It's not going to necessarily go out and check a website like a publisher's website to make it accessible. It's only going to work on things that are in Canvas right now. So also image files, JPEG, TIFF, PNG, GIF, all that stuff. Content in the rich content editor, which there's also a checker within Canvas itself, but it'll go through that too. YouTube videos embedded in content. Again, it won't caption stuff. Just be aware of that. But it will kind of look through all the course and their content and make a judgment call regarding that. So let's talk about accessibility scores. Oops. If you go into your course, I'm going to go ahead and go in and kind of show you this. Is the first thing about the accessibility scores is you'll notice these little dials here. And when you click these dials, they'll give you an idea of what your accessibility score for a particular item is. These images right here, perfect accessibility score. I'm going to go into my modules because I think I've got some stuff that's junked up. So let me minimize so I can see everything. So you see this accessibility score there, that's perfect. This PowerPoint medium. Again, I'm going to send a PowerPoint to talk about this, but basically low is going to be really bad, needs help. Medium, a little bit better. Somewhat accessible, it needs improvement. High is almost there, and it's great if everything's high. Obviously perfect is what we see right here. And this is your medium. See if I got anything else. And this is a low, very low score. I don't think I got anything here that is high per se that I can see, that I can publish and stuff. But wait, is this medium? No, that's still medium. But yeah, so there's basically 4 gauges that you'll get, and low, medium, high, perfect, and they kind of tell you what your score is. We're going to go into interpreting these a little more, but you can kind of click on them to get more detail in terms of what this means. It's 20% accessible, and it kind of gives you an idea of what's going on, and you have a chance to just replace the documents, which is a great thing. It's very easy to use Ally and apply the process to it. So again, I got a copy of this PowerPoint. The first thing you want to do to make an Ally work, though, is enable to take full advantage of it, is to use the accessibility report. Oops. So to enable that, I'm going to go back through the process of enabling the accessibility report, because right now I should have turned it off. Oops, it is not. It is already enabled, but I want to kind of go through that process of enabling it. So I'm going to go to settings. And here you're going to go to course navigation tab. So the accessibility report is enabled right now, but I'm going to show you basically what you have to do if it was not enabled in your class. So move my stuff, save. Okay, so now it's not enabled. You see it's down here. It says page is disabled, won't appear in navigation. I want to enable it. So I'm going to go hit plus the enable, or you can drag it up there and hit save. And now my accessibility reports is right there. So again, that's basically you go to it. You have the little 3 dots. You can disable or enable it, but you want to enable it, leave it enabled, and then or move it or drag it back and forth. So hit save. So I've got my accessibility report. So what happens to it? What happens when I click it and use it? So go ahead and click the accessibility report. And you see what you get here. I'm going to kind of move my screen around so I can see everything a little bit better. But you see what it tells you. It gives you a full report. Content with the easiest issues to fix. It kind of talks about, go back and accessibility report. It talks about the course accessibility summary and score and a list of all these accessibility issues found in the course content. So let's go ahead and look at it looks, and this is what it looks like. So we got a lot of issues in here, and you can see it. It tells you what they are: page, image, presentation. You can get more detail. oops, overview, click back and forth, but you can go to content views, the pages. And I think one of the neatest things is, I'm going to go through this, but the easiest issues to fix. It does a really good job of kind of guiding you through the process of how to fix these accessibility issues. And that's where it's strong. It will not make things accessible for you. But what it does do is do a great job of hand-holding you through the process of making materials accessible. So let's go to look at this easiest issues to fix. So it starts. You got your basically your scores here, and these are some really low scoring items. And so you see the check, we got the content. So let's click on the score to get the issue. So it's missing a description. So for this one, I can just add a description, test description. Obviously, you want to do a description that would give better description for this, but I'm just doing this for the point. Or you make the image decorative. If you notice on our on some of the designs from the template, they'll say it's decorative because it's not really mean anything. It has no meaning to the students. So if you're dealing with a student who's visually impaired, if it's decorative, that doesn't really, they just need to know it's decorative. There's no meaning to the image, and they can just move on to the next one. So you want to make sure when they're using their screen reader, and this is what Ally helps you do when it comes to these descriptions, is that they hit an image, they're told what it is, or that they don't need to know anything more about it. It's decorative, or what is it? Describe it. So to fix this, I'm just going to do a quick add. Well, and see, it really improved a great deal, from less than 20% to 93%. So there's guidance. They're talking about this contrast issues. Basically, you'd have to, right now, for this, we just have to fix that on our own. But you could easily upload a new file to upload once you had one fixed. So let's look at another content. I want to look at something as a PowerPoint. Yes, right there. This is a PowerPoint file. Again, this context with insufficient contrast. What this means, basically, it's not very legible to people who may have visually impairments or color blindness or anything like that. So you want to make sure it's a sufficient contrast, and you can use all the tools here. It takes you to the color verifier right there, color contrast analyzer, or oops, get back in there. You can also use simple black and white contrast. I always say that, you get to see these kind of weird kind of color gradients that can cause issues. What you don't want to do is say, this is like PowerPoint, the original document, your software, you can go in and fix it and just fix the file and then upload it. But really, the way to avoid contrast issues is use black and white. I know it's great to be colorful and creative, but sometimes that's not necessary when you're talking about accessibility. Simple is better. Avoid just kind of using these contrast issues. Gradients do it a lot too. Really where you go dark to light will cause problems, but it's something I would say you want to avoid in making your PowerPoints. It's very tempting to make them very beautiful and stuff like that, but you want to make them clear. You don't want to be text heavy. I mean, that's just kind of PowerPoint 101. And so you want to do it the simplest way possible. Oops. So let's talk about low scoring content. We're going to go back to the report. Go back to the overview. Again, easiest issues to fix and low scoring content may not necessarily be the same thing, as you can see here. This is a scanned image. It's 0. That is not good. And you're going to see if it should load a preview, but it's a picture. Okay, well, it's a PDF, but it's a picture. It needs to be treated as an image and with a description if necessary, if it's decorative, whatever like that. But basically, it's a PDF scanned. Now, what'll happen is let me see if I can find a PDF document. It's like a scanned page, which I believe that is. So this is actually a PowerPoint, but it's untagged. And so what a tag PDF is, basically you go through And you want to, when you're creating a PDF, you want to make sure you're creating a tag PDF. And if it's not tagged, the structures and everything like that can be confusing to a screen reader. And they'll basically talk to you about how to find the original document, and you go through and you tag it when you're creating the PDF. You can also go back and tag a PDF in, like say, if you have something like Acrobat, but that's probably the easiest way to do it oftentimes is to make it accessible in the source document, whether it be Word, whether it be Excel, whether it be PowerPoint, is to make the document itself accessible. Let's see what this is. So this is, I think, is a converted thing. It's not tagged. Again, it needs to be tagged. And that's just how you make it accessible. But the low scoring items basically based on what the scoring is. And I would say tagging a PDF is not necessarily easiest to fix, though it can be depending on what you're dealing with. The biggest problem is if you have scanned library pages, these older books, and you may have a longer problem to do that. So that's one thing to consider when you're doing your lowest scoring versus your easiest to fix, and when you're using documents, to avoid scanned documents entirely. So there's ways to improve content, and we kind of talked about that. So we go back and kind of go through the improvement process. So view, I'm going to pull up some different files here. Go to 5, go to 6, 7. You see, I can scan through. You can kind of look. This is a PowerPoint, and then images that are missing a description. So you have your score here. You can get all images. And what's great about Ally, like I said, one of the strongest things about it is that it can just guide you through the process. You're still going to have to learn how to actually do these things. And like I said, depending on the program, it can be very different, but you can't say it doesn't give you a roadmap to do that. So these images, if we got the images with the description, that increases your score up to 98%. Again, we've got the context issue. So, those things would really fix it. So you could add, a description, how to add descriptions. I mean, it talks you through the process. Let's go back to, I want to look for something a little different. See here, we got a lot of good stuff. We got a lot of people, good accessible things, even though we have a lot that are not. You can go through. And most of the issues are the PowerPoint. Let's see if this is a little different. Yeah, again, usually a lot of times in the PowerPoint, it's the contrast issue or the missing the images issue. In Word documents, it could be headings or any images if you put images in Word doc. PDFs is usually the tagging. That is a big potential problem. Let me see if I can find a different type of file. We go to these PDFs, you go back and you look at the report. See what this one is. So we have like this article, it's like got a bunch of dummy text, but see, here's the thing, it's not tagged. So if it's not tagged, it's not going to work. Right? It's got to be tagged. You want to make it, when you're creating a PDF, you just need to make it, you're sure it's a tagged PDF and accessible PDF. Again, a good way to do this is avoid all scan things. Do not scan things. You want to make sure that if you're using images, they're given as a image, and they are given a description. Oh, here's a good Word doc. Let's see what's wrong with this Word doc. So how to add descriptions, again, that's images. The other thing in Word docs is a lot of times it's headings. So really, oops. And let's go to, you have a lot of ways to improve content. It does not leave you a whole lot of gaps on how to do it. The issue is making the effort to fix that stuff. But the great thing about using LMSs and making everything accessible from the beginning so it stays that way. And then all you have to do is worry about new material you're adding, making it accessible. So in a sense, the Ally is really good. Ally is really good for basically giving you a quick way to get ahead of accessibility if you haven't really worried about it before. So let's talk a little about the student side. Oops. So the students can access the course content by using their preferred alternative formats. Basically, the students can select the format they want. And you can see in this presentation, I'm going to see if I can do it. I think I can do it from the student side. Go preview. Okay, here we go. Okay. So I'm in a student mode. I think it'll let me do this. So let's see if that's embedded. I need to find a file. Ah, there it is, the file. That's what I was looking for. So I'm trying to get this file. And right here, the student will see that and they'll get this option. They can do a tag PDF. Again, this is awesome. It really helps them a lot, but do not necessarily, it's not good practice to say, I'm going to rely on the student format making everything accessible for them. You want to make it accessible in the beginning. You want a good score. You want it to be the ease of use, because this is not going to guarantee it's accessible. It's going to basically try to get it down to an accessible format. But if there's a lot of issues in a PDF, if there's a lot of issues in whatever the document or file is, it's still not going to be truly accessible. And you've got HTML for mobile devices, EPUB for ebook, electronic braille. This is very important for people who use electronic braille displays. Have you ever seen those? Listening. And this is a great example of how Ally is not just for students who need some sort of accommodation. It's something that can work for all of us, all of our students. And you talk about the audio thing. How many times would have been helpful for you to be able to listen to an article because you don't have time to stare at it in your reading if you're driving or something like that? It's really great. I think people really underestimate how much what this tool promotes is good for everyone. Again, I talk about it doesn't do captioning for you, but talk about captioning in YouTube. You know, if you ever have kids, little kids, you maybe want to watch TV, but you can't watch it as loud as you did because they're trying to sleep or something like that. It's just very helpful. And so a lot of things that we do for accommodations and accessibility really have a wide range of application for all users. And we should view them as such. But as you can see, you got a variety of formats here. Beeline is basically kind of an enhanced version for screen reading for the screen reader. But like I said, I think students can benefit from all these things. That audio thing is just great. And you just click download and it would download it for the student. You can kind of see that it went there. But it's a really, leave student view. It's really cool what Ally allows you as an instructor to do when setting up a course accessible, but also students to do. And if you've ever worked in accessibility, disability services, it is not a magic bullet, but it is as good as anything that's come down the accessibility pipeline in a long time, especially with our emphasis on online learning, with our having to go online due to COVID. What it does is it gives the students a chance to really take control of the accessibility means, and the instructor, instead of having to use maybe your disability services office. I know it's different elsewhere, but back in the day, I used to deal with getting formats into a digital, documents into a digital format, and this can really allow your students to take that over, and it's just a really great tool. So I really encourage you to pay attention to it and use it. So all our other trainings, that's kind of an overview of Ally today. And like I said, it's something I would really recommend you utilize, and I think your students should utilize it, push it to your students. But other training opportunities for communication tools in Canvas, create a course in Canvas, create assessments in Canvas. These are going to be live trainings offered, and these are going to be on our YouTube channel. So please feel free to go ahead and take a look at those on the YouTube, or look for them to come up live. Available resources, LMS.TAMU.EDU, Growing with Canvas, self-paced, a way for you to kind of go through a course that allows you to learn more about Canvas. And again, LMS.TAMU.EDU virtual office hours, training, and we got our YouTube channel, Office for Academic Innovation, Instagram, TAMU_innovation, and support AI help at TAMU.EDU.
To learn more, please visit LMS.TAMU.EDU or email us at aihelp@tamu.edu. Thank you.